Hello there, and welcome to TapCap Transmissions, a Star Wars podcast, just a Star Wars podcast. I'm Corey, joined as always by Mr. Justin Eckhart-Slatter. How are you doing today, Eck?
TapCap Transmissions, the number one tops trading card discussion podcast on the internet. I'll say it.
Okay. The Galactic Files series of tops trading cards, clearly number one in our hearts and in our collections. How many tops trading cards are you sitting there looking at right now?
I'm not going to show you, but my whole back wall is not. I don't use drywall. It's just 6 layers of tops trading cards, 6 layers deep.
Well, normally I'd say they hold up, but they didn't hold up in the transition
No,
from Legends to canon.
No.
So that's, I guess that's going to be so much of apparently what we're talking about today for some goddamn reason. But we're here to talk about the Acolyte episode 4, primarily. If there's any news to get into beforehand, though, anything you're thinking of?
I don't think so. Not really. No, I don't think so. We've got like more viewership numbers, but like to me, I never know like what that means.
Yeah,
whether it's good or bad. It seems like the show's coming in below Ahsoka, which I kind of expected.
Yeah.
Other than that, hard to say. Especially because they're like it's the number one streaming event on Disney this year. Like,
yeah,
what else?
On X-Men 97? I think was the other big release for nerds.
That's true.
But
it is weird though. Like you go on Disney. Like I logged on last night because I was watching the playoffs as well, and it's like how like at the top they've got like you scroll through like the different programs. Like the new episode of The Acolyte was like numbers like scroll 6.
Well, I don't know if that's based on like when stuff's released. I don't think it's based on like Bob Iger just sitting there shuffling shit around by how much he likes it.
So well, I don't know. I think they'd want to advertise their premiere because like when Mando gets a new episode, that thing is right there, like right in your face. Like I got past
when it came out, it was in the first roll for me. Okay. Then it goes off more. And then there's the Canadian collection up there right now. So who knows how much is like profile side, but
that's true. Yeah, it could be an algorithm.
Yeah, like streaming messes so much with typical like audience reporting. So like Nielsen, at least even with regular TV, like Nielsen has whatever methods they have, but at least it's comparing more like with like, but it's kind of meaningless.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was just like, I remember scrolling through and Lost was there, and I was like, did they put a new season? Did they stealth drop a new season of Lost? And it's like, no. Reminder, we got Lost. We got Criminal Minds and Lost. You guys are looking for something to do.
But I kind of feel like for the Acolyte, if you're going to Disney Plus, a lot of people who signed up for that already know it's there, but they might not know that they can go after the Acolyte and watch a few back episodes of Lost.
That's true. I've never watched Lost.
Like the Darth helmet face guy was on an island in the first episodes, and then Lost often takes place on an island. So there's a lot of draw for people coming in that way.
Both have large hairy men in them, from what I understand. Well, one's a Wookiee, not a man, but
well, I mean, is man strictly related to humans?
I think so.
Okay, so there's
one small step for man and Wookiee.
When did George Lucas go to the moon?
Yeah,
not yet. Shatner didn't do it until he was what, 90? Lucas is
George's time.
He's got
I don't think George cares to go. He's like, the moon's boring compared to Star Wars. Like my moons are way cooler.
Just bring Darth Talon. But
there's no bras on the ISS.
All right. Well, I guess no news to talk about. I've been playing a bit more Hunters. I've been having fun with it, but have you done any downtime huntering?
No, I haven't.
All right, fair enough. Right. So the Acolyte episode 4, Day. We're still just getting one title right now.
Yeah.
We're seeing more convergence between May and Osha's storyline. But what are your overall thoughts going into episode 4 here?
I thought, going into episode 4 or coming out?
Coming out.
Okay.
We'll
So I thought the general consensus would be that the episode was an improvement over episode 3. I thought it was more interesting. I just think the show is a lot better with the Jedi like Saul around.
yeah.
Obviously, Saul was in episode 3, but kind of in that more limited role. I still had a lot of issues. I thought the dialogue in this episode was like probably the weakest.
Hmm.
Especially like I thought Amanda Lestenberg, like, did she have something to do? Because like I feel like they took the first take they had for some of those lines. Like the one where she's like, "Oh, so you want me to rejoin the Jedi Order?" Like, you want to give that a second try, maybe. Um, but I thought overall it was an improvement. I liked the ending. I've complained about the shows being 8-part movies, but sometimes you got to end on a cliffhanger. So I thought that was okay. My biggest issue had nothing to do with Ki-Adi-Mundi because I don't care. My biggest issue was definitely the May kind of already switching allegiances.
Yeah, like I agree. Some of the delivery of lines in this episode felt fairly stilted, and I think there's one example that was supposed to be kind of stilted that kind of loses the impact because of that. Like I feel like the conversation between May and
Mhm.
Chimere,
Yeah.
about your master, what was his name or whatever the other Jedi, what was his name,
Yeah.
Soul. Like it felt like that was supposed to come off as in like with him being kind of
Casual.
trying to sell that he doesn't know who it is.
Yeah.
Same way that I tried to pretend I didn't know who SpongeBob SquarePants was because I didn't want people to think I'd watched the show at one point in my life.
Yeah.
But I
Totally
think
normal.
that got a little bit lost in some of I don't know, just kind of offline delivery here. But
Yeah.
overall, I did like the story of the episode. I think we're on the right track. I'm interested to see what happens next.
All right,
So
let's cut right to it because I'm seeing in chat people are complaining. Let's
all
talk
right,
about the big Kia, the big Serene in the room. Ordinary size Serene. Do you want me to just set? Do you want me to set? Yeah, but you want to set the stage? You want me to do? I don't know.
you do it because I had the last angry rant on the show.
Yeah. So yeah, it was Ki-Adi-Mundi. In the Jedi, he seems to be a master, but not yet. Like in that scene, just to clear things up, it's not the High Council, like the full
No.
Jedi Council. They basically like got to have a brain trust going to make good decisions.
It's just
They
like
spec-
one committee room. Like we don't know
yeah,
necessarily what they're.
like these are the boys that were around. Like let's just figure it out. They specifically don't go to the High Council because they're worried. They clear up. They don't think it's a Sith.
A Sith or any
They don't
other
even
kind of
really
major enough
mention
threat to
that.
bring it up. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Vernestra's whole position is that we're going to handle this now because if we send this to the High Council and it turns out to be nothing, this gets out to everyone and then it turns into a whole thing. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the Jedi is Ki-Adi-Mundi. Now, I want to say, if you think it's stupid that Ki-Adi-Mundi is there, totally understandable. Like I thought it was a really weird choice. Saurians never seemed like super long-lived species to me, but the people who are saying that this violates some established lore are completely missing the point. Yes, Ki-Adi-Mundi did have an established age in Star Wars Legends. In the old expanded universe, there was like a trading card game of all things where it also lists his humility score and his force score. That calls him 70. And there's also a reference book. But the fact is, when canon got wiped in 2014, for better or for worse, all of that stuff is no longer set in stone. We've had so many characters who've had their age change. The big one is Qui-Gon Jinn, where he got significantly younger. I think he was like 60 in canon and Legends, and now he's 45. And like to me, I just find it weird how people are saying, "Oh, you're violating the will of George Lucas." George Lucas did not give a fuck about all of that stuff. George Lucas made the most strangely aged people in the prequels because he wanted it. Like Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan is supposed to be how old in the original trilogy because of the prequels? Like it just
He's like 50 in the original
yeah, he's
trilogy.
50 and he's played by like a 65-year-old. So if you don't think he should have been in it, that's fine. And if you don't think they should have changed his age, that is also fine. But to say that they violated canon is just objectively wrong. And it's
Yeah.
also a weird point to criticize the episode on when there's, other things.
Yeah, it's been kind of annoying where like I I noticed in the credits, I didn't think it was Ki-Adi-Mundi at first.
No,
When
I didn't
I thought it was
even
just
entertain
some
the thought.
Syrian guy
Yeah.
in the room. But then in the credits it says Ki-Adi-Mundi. So I was like, oh, well, that's neat. And then I didn't think it would. I was like, oh, I'm going to do a video talking about how that's actually him, because I feel like a lot of people might miss
Yeah, I
that
didn't think
was
anyone would care.
him for the credits. And then all of the comments that I got were like, just some of the most angry I've seen people over like a quote unquote retcon.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's retconning, quote unquote, information that we already knew didn't apply because it only came from legend sources, like the stuff about Syrian lifespans, the stuff about his specific age. And even if you try to keep the lifespans in, like even if that information does get brought in later, in a lot of cases, you do get Jedi living longer than non-Jedi. But like there have been, within both legends and canon, there have been other retcons, even just staying on characters' ages, like what we were already talking about with the movies, that I was just, I've never been so surprised
Yeah,
by
I
the
thought
reaction.
I think this has been the dumbest debate. Like it just doesn't make sense to me because they change ages all the time and it was not previously established. And like if you want to get on the Disney is fucking over previously established ages, Cassian Andor is a great example. There are other major, like they've changed the backstories of characters several times.
Yeah.
Like George Lucas wanted to have Darth Talon and Darth Maul like completely in nonsensical time frames in his movies or in some of his I think he wanted Darth Maul in like his episode 7 video game they were talking about making. Like it's just the idea that that George Lucas, like people are like, this is a attack on Lucas's legacy. The idea that George Lucas ever fucking cracked one of those lore books, much less
this was
like
his fucking CD-ROM.
Well, yeah. So the idea that George Lucas was in his fucking like in Skywalker Ranch with the blinds down, like his fucking glasses on, typing away, like putting his heart and soul into Ki-Adi-Mundi's age. The book or the CD-ROM doesn't even get his lightsaber color right. So like, it's just there are so many things. Like I don't like the show very much. So like, just talk about that. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Like Corran Horn has an impossible age. He literally can't exist, but who gives a shit? Like if we're going to talk about how important ages of characters are for this kind of thing, like there's so many other examples in Star Wars. It makes no fucking sense to me. But it's just been depressing trying to talk about anything else with the show, parts that I like or don't like, and then it all just gets subsumed by
just kind of
Ki-Adi-Mundi's birthday.
Yeah. It almost seems like it's almost like it's a smoke screen, like that, like the undercover. People always call people shills, like the real undercover shills are placing the strawman, the Ki-Adi-Mundi strawman across the internet so we can fight about that instead of like the fact that they didn't do more than one take of dialogue.
Yeah, like we were both pretty critical of episode 3, especially. I enjoyed this one probably more than you did. I don't know. Where like I liked episode 1 and 2. I didn't like episode 3 as much. And I was like more positive on episode 4, especially the ending. But overall, I do like the show. But like it almost seems like if you're anything other than frothing at the mouth mad about some of this stuff, then that's the baseline for being a shill. It's like there's plenty of Star Wars stuff I don't like. I just go about my day afterwards.
Yeah. So the other Ki-Adi-Mundi thing is, he explicit. This one I thought also was kind of funny because people are mad because he apparently now knows what's going on, but in episode 1 doesn't say anything. And like there are a couple of weaknesses to that argument. For one, we don't know what happens. All the Jedi could be wiped out. He could never find out. The Sith are generally pretty sneaky, so they could blame May, who's already murdered. They could do a bunch of things. We don't really know. But I just also find it kind of funny that the scene that everyone's using to talk about Ki-Adi-Mundi being present is when he's directly shown evidence of, or directly given evidence of a dark sider with a red lightsaber And in that case, he also doesn't think it's the Sith.
Yeah,
Because go ahead.
Good.
I was gonna say, like, Qui-Gon Jinn tells the council, I fought a dude strong on the dark side of the Force with a red lightsaber. It's got to be a Sith. And Ki-Adi-Mundi's like, nope, not a Sith.
Yeah, like the thing. Well, as of the start of this episode, they hadn't seen who it is at all. And like what Vernestra is saying is explicitly, we don't necessarily think this is such a huge deal yet. We don't know what we're dealing with. Let's not let this explode out more than it has to before we know what we're dealing with. So we still don't know what information gets back to them. So it's kind of like you can speculate about like what things could happen to still fit within Ki-Adi's opinion in episode 1. But until we actually see what that situation is, then it's entirely guesswork.
Yeah, and I'm also not gonna lie and say that like I'm not a little concerned about how they're gonna wrap this all up too. Because like I said, all the Jedi get killed. If you have 10 Jedi go missing, like there's gotta be some sort of explanation for it.
Yeah.
So they gotta do a good job. I'm just not really willing to make up criticisms or like to focus my criticism on that when the story's not been told yet and there are other things to talk about right now.
Yeah. But
like we're 4 episodes in and it feels like we've wasted a lot of time. Like on episode 3, for example, like I felt like that kind of like the derailing of that, I felt it a bit that like the show would have been a lot stronger straight from 2 to 3. The length is an issue, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah. The so to kind of jump back to something you said at the start, the situation with May, where we get a bit more of her traveling with Chimera to Kofar and like going through the forest trying to get to Kilnaka. And they have a bit more discussion about what May's quest is, or her test.
Yeah.
And I kind of misunderstood something here where I thought the way she was phrasing it now made it seem like the earlier stuff had been a misdirect, and that like the unarmed like kill a Jedi unarmed, that it maybe meant like she has to kill an unarmed opponent, but I think I misinterpreted that. But but yeah, so I feel like a lot of this just points more towards the Chimera as a Sith theory.
Yeah.
Like the farther we go in with that, the more I think that is probably the case, that her master and Chimera are the same person. Have you evolved at all on that?
No, I put $100 bet with Ilkin that they are the same. I don't know if you saw that last night.
Yeah, well, I usually don't broadcast the private Facebook DM, so I needed to give you an opportunity to look. I was setting you up. That's all it was.
Yeah, I mean,
a sham.
Yeah, like anything else at this point, I think will be too far out of left field. Like if it's going to be, I guess like the mother, I forgot her name, the
Anastasia?
Yeah, no, the other one, the one
Coral.
Coral. I guess maybe, but like I still feel like it would be weird for her to show up without any, like that's kind of one of my issues where the show is, obviously this mystery, but we're not getting enough. Like, I need other options. You know what I mean? Where it seems like there's a really obvious answer. Like you could say, oh, maybe it's Vernestra, but I mean, so far all she's really done is be a bat, like a hard ass.
She wouldn't fit in the suit,
right?
The suit is Manny Jacinto shaped. I don't know what else to tell you.
The hands, like, yeah, I didn't get my hand calipers out, but like. They look like probably his hands.
Yeah, like I feel like Mother Coral is kind of the second place theory after Chimera right now. Like, unless you want to say like other unknown character is between the two of them. But I feel like Coral's main point here is more to be the inciting figure for whatever actually happened in the fire. Like whatever caused the conflict between the Jedi and the Coven to ignite, and then rather than have her be like still a factor now, especially because like she might have been able to get to Osha and do stuff with her earlier if that had been the case. Like, and probably less relevantly, but that helmet with those horns seems really uncomfortable. Like I wouldn't
That's true. Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think about that. I mean, hair will always feel. I know she doesn't have horns. She got the what's it called?
The
The
Leku?
the Leku. She'd always wear like a helmet. I'm like, how is that going on? Like,
Yeah, but you can kind of pad around that a little bit more easily, and they're I assume they're squishy. I don't know. How squishy are Leku? Has any interactive CD-ROMs ever explained that?
yeah, I don't know. We got to check that out. Got to get my best men on that. Um,
I'll throw
yeah,
it.
it seems like it's definitely Kamir though. So maybe I do kind of wonder whether will there be like another mystery? Like, are we going to get his identity? I assume so. We also like presumably we got that shot of Vernestra with the light whip in the forest. So is she going to show up next episode? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the Vernestra stuff might even be part of a different flashback. I don't know if she maybe
Oh,
she
okay.
follows up on the group and maybe like Osha gets uh the two options I think are either the Jedi go dark and Vernestra goes out to figure out what happened to them because they haven't heard back from Kelnaka, and then this group goes missing. The other option is there's something with a flashback where Vernestra is doing something else. But
Well, we definitely have at least one flashback scene left.
yeah, but that's like the
But
group
for
had.
Nestra, yeah, probably not there for that one. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just I'm kind of this is episode 5 needs to be good. And it's kind of an interesting point because I think a lot of us kind of figured we'd be at this point by episode 4, like in terms of how the stories moved along. Now I have really no clue how they're going to progress. I think the worst thing possible would be if episode 5 is like a complete flashback episode. I really hope they wouldn't do that. I'm guessing they wouldn't.
No, I think we'll get more. I think we'll continue on from where we are.
Also, yeah, the Sith doesn't have green skin. That's a good point.
And as Molly said on Twitter, it'll probably be called Night.
Yeah. Is it possible that no, never mind. I was gonna say, is it possible that the guy in the helmet's not actually the Sith, like the master? So I'm trying to think, but like, is it possible that that's just what Kamir wears as an acolyte? I was trying to think about how May reacted when
I
she
don't
saw
know.
him. She seemed pretty afraid, so I'm guessing not.
Yeah, I don't
He
think
said he's
she would know
here.
that that's Chimere if
Yeah,
that's just like an alternate acolyte
yeah.
identity for Chimere.
Because she did
But
say she was like, yeah, he's here or something. I think she said that.
but like
I liked his
I
intro.
kind
I
of
thought it was cool.
I kind of feel like the title just this is completely irrelevant, but I feel like the title is meant to apply to both of them in a way that a lot of people just haven't really
Mhm.
thought about it all. But because like acolyte doesn't, it's not a position. It's like
Yeah.
in the same way that Osha is being an acolyte of the Sith, or sorry, that May is being an acolyte of the Sith. Osha kind of feels the same way towards the Jedi, even
Yeah.
though she left the Order, and like we found out that that was her decision. Kind of doing what she thought the Jedi were going to do to her, anyways. Like she still seems to be kind of a Jedi devotee,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think Chimere. I don't think that's just a costume for Chimere. I think we are dealing with whatever
Yeah, I think
May's
you're right.
master is with that guy.
And I will say, one thing I did like about the episode, I did like the on-scene stuff they clearly filmed outside on the planet. I thought it looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reminded me of the Eldani arc of Andor in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I didn't get with the forest though, is how did they not realize those bugs were bugs?
Yeah, like you never seen trying to think
Potato
what
bug.
potato bug, yeah. 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 I don't know.
Yeah,
I got potato bug in my tank up there.
yeah.
Well,
They're a
it's dead, but
common. They're perfect little tank guys. They eat all the dead stuff. There's one that's lived in my terrarium for like a year already, but
I gotta open
I
my tank because
it's gonna smell.
it's really murky, and I opened it to let air out, and I heard something splash in there. So I'm wondering whether a tadpole might have gotten in there and
Mm.
grown into like I don't know what the life cycle is, but I'm a little. If we get to 450 viewers, I'll do it right now. But
Well, do you think Soul is going to live? Like we're kind of
Yeah,
in as far as like modern day stuff, we're kind of in the dark now, right? I don't think we've seen anything other than maybe Vernestra's scenes that are like modern day.
there's a guy on the one of the Star Wars subreddits who usually will keep track of all that. And like last week alone, we were down to like 3 minutes of footage left before this episode. Um, so like thinking of what's left, we've got the flashback sequence, the light whip sequence, and not a whole lot else.
Yeah. So like you don't go up to someone if you're genre savvy and you know you're in a movie or a show like
Mm,
that, you
yeah,
don't go up to someone and say, "After this mission, I'm going to explain everything to you,"
yeah,
because
that's
that
true.
is asking to die.
That was
And I
a
just can't.
yeah, that was a big. I really like Saul. He's definitely my favorite character in the show. I think he's the best actor as well. Vernestra's good as well. But yeah, that's not a good scene. And but I mean, I found that interesting because now we know for sure that he also is kind of aware that more is going on
Yeah.
than
Well, he
because
definitely knows why they were there that night, and I think regardless of
yeah,
what else, that's a big question.
yeah. Because I thought I was kind of under the impression that maybe whatever bad happened he had been away for, but obviously
Mhm.
not.
Well, some of it he might have like learned after the fact and not been able to tell her because he's a bit of a like he just got cold feet. But I mean, when we see the flashbacks, it's not like in episode 3. It's not like that was an indication that like someone in the show was telling someone else something that was entirely for our
No,
benefit.
yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's going to be the same situation in episode whatever where we get the rest of the flashbacks. Whether it's going to be like, oh, Soul is telling Osha or
Yeah,
May what
because
went
they
on.
definitely could use that as a
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. Yeah, because at some point, I mean, there's plenty of ways they could do it. They could start an episode with a flashback. They could do a dream sequence. They could cut back to it without really having a
Yeah.
fictional framework for it. We don't really know.
Yeah, because like the people who knew what happened are all basically dead, other than Soul and possibly Coral if she's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Which I mean, even if I don't think that she's this the Sith, like I don't discount the possibility that she's still alive somewhere.
No, yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
May and like it. So if Chimera or whomever the Sith is hears May say she's not going after them anymore, she's going to turn herself into to Kelnaka. Sith goes to kill Kelnaka.
Mhm.
Is his goal going to be like taking May back in, or is May going to be running from her former master now too?
I mean, you gotta kind of wonder, like, what's the purpose for killing the Jedi? Obviously, like any good Sith, you know, wants the excuse to kill Jedi, but like he is massively risking being discovered. Um, so would he really do that just to kill one other Jedi? Like, and
Yeah,
let maybe he's trying to cover up something that, like whatever happened. Maybe he's trying to cover that up.
I can see that.
But I kind of do think he still wants
Yeah,
May around.
yeah. Because like the only reason to go after those Jedi, those four, is for May's benefit. Like that goal is to show May that the Jedi aren't what they claim to be, and then have her kind of go for them. And the only reason for him to like kill Kalnaka is because he knows that May is going to turn herself in. The only
Mhm.
reason to reveal himself in the forest is kind of her hand was for, or his hand was forced, and to make sure May doesn't give in that information either.
Yeah,
So it seems like withholding that
I guess
information
that's
is
also
now what
true.
is.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
can't be blabbing. That's true.
but I kind of were you there for the High Republic Convergence and Cataclysm discussion? I think that was just Elkin.
I
The
don't think
phase
so. I,
2.
I read the one where they're behind the wall for like I
Okay.
don't like
It's
the most
the
recent big novel.
it was the prior to where they were like 100 years back even
Yeah,
in
no, I
like
didn't read
different
those. I
formation.
didn't read those.
Okay. So there was something you mentioned towards the start about like, oh, they like she's faking it and then or she's switching sides, and the thing that's stopping that from happening is now she probably thinks she's screwed because she's in the wrong room at the wrong time with the Jedi or with dead Kalnaka. And I kind of feel like they've gone to that well too many times now.
Totally, yeah.
Where like in the first episode, that was the plot of the first episode of thinking it was Osha because they see May and all that. And then episode 2, with Torben, you almost have the same situation where Osha walks into the room.
Like, nah, it's chill.
And yeah, Yord is the one that claims it there. But I feel like even though they kind of kiboshed that one, and even though this has a bigger plot impact, I just kind of wish we hadn't reused that so many times already.
Yeah, what I kind of wonder is which lightsaber was used. I mean, I guess they won't be able to tell which lightsaber was used, but he did have a clear lightsaber wound. She doesn't have one. She could have used his.
Yeah.
It kind of all depends on, whether she has it or whether the Sith took it with him.
But it kind of looks like it kind of looks like there's marks beyond just the slash, like the way you'd expect from the unstable lightsaber style.
Yeah.
Like the Kylo-y style.
Yeah.
But and so we do have a question from Daring Dan here about when would he have the opportunity to do that. Keep in mind, Kymir knew the way. Kymir was the one telling May where to go.
Felt like he raced her there.
Yeah. So if Kymir knows, like, oh fuck, I need to get there, he has the tools too. Yeah. And apparently, originally, it was supposed to be Kymir May that was trapped in the trap, and Kymir was not. But Manny Jacinto made the request that they change that. So if he is the Sith, and he can easily get out of that, like that's not going to be a huge problem for him.
Yeah, that was kind of wondering about the trap, whether he purposely did it, like got stuck, but.
Yeah, but like the entirety of the scenes between May and Kymir are Kymir knows these things, May doesn't. Kymir knows the way, May doesn't. So I don't think him getting there first would be that big of a surprise. And like there does seem to be a few situations where like the amount of knowledge Kymir has and he's holding back from May is kind of clear, and like him pretending not to know who Soul is even though he's got all this other shit going on. Like I feel like that
should... acolytes, they're clearly not like on the same level.
Yeah,
but I mean we don't really know their relationship, but
yeah. Kymir also says like he, you know how he is, he collects people. So are there more acolytes? Are there more Mays out there?
That's true.
Like, is it information brokers or is there other potential training of force sensitives?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of questions. What do you suspect for episode 5?
I feel like we'll get the rest of that duel. I feel like most of those Jedi aren't surviving. I think like Yord, Jackie, and Soul are the ones that, if they survive or if anyone survives, would be them. But I don't know. I don't feel like Soul has a great chance coming out of the season now. But
I think he's got one more fight, because I do believe we also have a trailer scene where he's wielding his lightsaber in like a town or something at night, but I could be mistaken. That could be a flashback as well. But yeah,
I've avoided more trailers than I've watched, so I mean I'm not the best. Like Jackie, we know fights with Kalnaka's lightsaber at some point. I do know that.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's gonna be next episode.
Yeah,
I hope so, because I want to see some action.
Yeah, I think it would be a big flow disruption, kind of like coming out of episode 2, to have it immediately go back to
that would be a
major flashback. I think I think that'll be episode 6, if I had to guess. But it's kind of nice being past the point where people have had screeners and can be dropping hints all the time.
Yeah,
so I didn't like that.
Yeah,
but do you have any expectations beyond that?
Not really. No, I like nothing about last episode. Kind of was unexpected to me, so I don't think much has changed in my expectations.
Yeah, Yord's still kind of a dick.
Yep, he's a cop.
Yord Horde, I can't be on board.
Nope. Jackie, I think Jackie's fun.
Yeah, I like Jackie.
A little silly, a little goofy.
And then I don't know, maybe they can go to the cafe together later. That'd be nice for them.
I could have said Tap Cap, but they didn't.
No, they don't always do that. Like they always try to like tease us with that. But I think Jackie, I'm expecting to survive, even if I don't think Soul
Yeah,
does.
I think so too.
I kind of feel like your dies to save Osha at some point, considering how much they try to reinforce how much he's being a dick to her.
The one character I think is gone is I think Vernestra's done.
Yeah, like it feels like the big battle. If there's gonna be like a big lightsaber duel, it'd be Light Whip Vernestra versus the Sithy person, and then she's dead.
Yeah.
That I think that'd be a fun call.
Yeah.
But they did say in interviews before the show that there's a second lightsaber type that
Oh,
hasn't been used in live action before that they want to do.
you
And
guessed
that
Extendo Saber, didn't you?
Yeah, I feel like it's the
Yeah.
dual say it's so this has been a whole other thing where the video I did on that got two kinds of comments. The first one was people saying, it's probably a rainbow dildo. It's like, okay, go fuck yourself. There's so many people making that joke. It's not funny. Just please stop. It's the second is people saying that's been in live action before. Vader's saber is dual phase.
I mean,
But
all the
that's
lightsabers
different.
have all the lightsabers have adjustable
Yeah.
knobs. Like these people that
But
can play them in reference books. Come on.
when they do that in
Visual.
live action, that's usually like a source book explaining away why props in different scenes had different lengths. Like if you go between shots of Vader's saber, then he's using a slightly different length one. We've never had one that changes length intentionally in the middle of a battle, like within a shot. And that's why I'm thinking like dual phase would be kind of technically difficult to do and would be something we
Because
haven't seen in
you
live
can't have
action
it be
before.
goofy. Because like you've got the very real potential of it being super goofy.
Yeah. And to be clear, the interview also said it was not the lightsaber whip that she was talking about because that was, I guess, the third type of comment of saying, "Oh, they're talking about the lightsaber." It's not. She said lightsaber whip, then something else that the prop department told her. That sounds tough. And then she said, "Please," and then they did it. So I don't know what that's going to be. We haven't seen a unique lightsaber on any of the other characters in this battle yet. So there's someone else out there.
If I'm thinking of like the High Republic, they've got that one. It's kind of like Kylo's saber, where it's got like the things that pop out and but they go across. You know, almost like a pod racer's, like the little energy that goes between the pod racer's pods.
Okay.
That like that could be one where it's got like a guard almost with like a laser over it.
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of like the I guess the big claymore from Jedi Survivors like that.
Yeah. But I don't know if that would be so different from just Kylo's saber for them to say that this was a technical difficulty to try to put into live action.
Yeah.
Because it seems like if you're trying to recreate Kylo's, that's more known quality with the cross guard.
Yeah.
But I don't know yet. But to like the main reason I bring it up is it would probably mean there's another character coming that we haven't seen yet that's going to be involved in some kind of duel. But
yeah.
Any other points from this episode you want to talk about?
No, I want to be done.
All right.
Keeping off Twitter for a week.
Yeah. Good plan. All right, so we'll be back next week on Wednesday to talk about the Acolyte episode 5, and then potential Thursday for Destiny's Way. We said it's going to be end of.
Yeah. We'll try.
All right, so Wednesday Acolyte episode 5. Thursday we'll finally be continuing on with Destiny's Way, the 15th book on the New Jedi Order, 14th book, somewhere in there.
Pretty far.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Oh, goodbye, everybody. Don't end the stream. I want to say thanks for my super chats.
Okay.
So we have Jaster, who gave $4.99. Said, personally, my humble opinion, this episode is trash, or the Acolyte is trash. Okay, thanks for the $5. Joel says, I guess we could have kept this in the podcast. Do you think there'll be a season 2, Corey?
I think they've already got season 2 planned. Like, I think the question mark there is how much does Disney want to do streaming shows versus movies? But I don't think they're canceling anything that was in production already for that.
No, I agree.
So I feel like Ahsoka and the Acolyte getting further seasons are kind of outside that equation.
Joel also donated $5 and says, if it doesn't happen, fine, but I legit want Kamir to be Plagueis. I think it'd be both hilarious and kind of epic at the same time. I saw a few people talk about that, actually.
Yeah, I don't think he will be. I don't know. It wouldn't bother me. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, me neither. I like Plagueis being immune as well.
Yeah.
Then Michael donated $12. Says Chimera sounds like chimera. That does. A creature from Greek mythology made up of 3 different animals. I think his name alludes to him being the master, but also an apprentice and an apothecary. I like that theory. I like it too because it pushes me closer to my $100.
Yeah, if Ack doesn't get $100 in super chats, then they actually are going to shut down his channel.
They got the finger on the button right now.
Yeah, YouTube has heard that he says things that he doesn't like about the Acolyte, so they're hovering over the censorship button.
Yeah, they got troopers out in the windows, stormtroopers, thankfully, so I'll be okay. But troopers nonetheless.
It's a little known fact that the reason that Susan no longer works at YouTube is because she didn't like the Acolyte.
That's true.
Yeah.
She had a very advanced copy.
It was uploaded on Google Drive at one point. She accidentally saw it.
Oh no! I will say I wouldn't have been. We now have the good thing about all these 4 episodes being done is that we don't have to listen to any more of those little sneaky remarks from people who've seen the preview episodes. Best part.
That is the nice part about getting to this part in the season.
Yeah.
It's not just jealousy either.
No.
It's actually kind of annoying.
It's super annoying. I know more than you know. Har har.
Any other ones that you needed or wanted to address? Any other big topics on your? Okay, I'm going to press the button now.
All right.
Bye, everyone.